Welcome to our deep dive into the fascinating world of cravings and their impact on our brain. In this video, we'll explore how sugar, salt, and fat not only tantalize our taste buds but also trigger powerful responses in our brain's reward circuitry. From the science of dopamine to the role these ingredients play in hyperpalatable foods, we'll uncover the mechanisms that drive our desires and the implications for our health. Join us as we unravel the connections between cravings, childhood experiences, and the food industry's influence, paving the way for new insights into personalized nutrition and public policy. 1. The science of craving. Dopamine in the reward circuit. Recent neuroscience research has mapped how sugar, salt, and fat light up the brain's reward system. A 2024 study from the National Institutes of Health, NIH, used fMRI scans to show that when people consume foods high in these ingredients, the dopamine-rich pathways in the striatum and prefrontal cortex become highly active. The release of dopamine, often called the feel-good chemical, reinforces the desire to repeat the behavior, driving intense cravings. According to Dr. Nora Volkow, director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, the brain's response to these foods is strikingly similar to the reaction to addictive drugs. The NIH study also found that repeated exposure increases sensitivity over time, meaning people need more sugar, salt, or fat for the same level of satisfaction. In 2024, the World Health Organization, WHO, reported that 82% of processed foods purchased globally contain high levels of at least one of these ingredients, further fueling the cycle of cravings. 2. Sugar's power over the brain. Recent findings. In March 2025, a team from Harvard Medical School published a paper revealing that sugar consumption causes a rapid spike in blood glucose, which swiftly activates the brain's pleasure centers. Their findings show that even small amounts of added sugar, like the 9 grams in a typical flavored yogurt, can lead to a significant dopamine surge. The study cited how the brain starts to associate sugary foods with immediate gratification, making it harder to resist future temptations. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, Americans consumed an average of 16 teaspoons of added sugar per day in 2024, despite the American Heart Association's recommendation of no more than 6 teaspoons for women and 9 for men. This overconsumption is directly linked to the way sugar hijacks the brain's reward system, leading to habitual cravings and, in some cases, dependence. 3. The salty truth. How sodium drives desire. Salt does more than flavor food. Research from the University of Cambridge in January 2025 showed that sodium triggers a unique response in the hypothalamus, the brain region responsible for homeostasis and thirst. Their clinical trials found that subjects exposed to high-sodium foods experienced not only a stronger thirst response but also reported increased cravings for salty snacks for up to 48 hours afterward. The Global Sodium Intake Report, 2024, found that the average adult worldwide consumes about 3,400 milligrams of sodium daily, nearly double WHO's recommended maximum of 2,000 milligrams. The report also noted that 71% of sodium in Western diets comes from processed foods and restaurant meals, making it difficult for consumers to control their intake. This constant exposure keeps the craving cycle alive, especially among younger demographics. 4. Fat's role. Beyond calories. A groundbreaking 2024 study from Yale University revealed that dietary fat doesn't just add calories. It manipulates the brain's endocannabinoid system, which regulates mood, appetite, and pleasure. The researchers found that high-fat foods stimulate the release of natural cannabinoids, which in turn intensify the sensation of pleasure and encourage repeated consumption. Intriguingly, the study found that saturated fats had a more pronounced effect than unsaturated fats. In a 2025 survey by the International Food Information Council, 67% of participants admitted to craving high-fat foods under stress or emotional duress, highlighting the connection between emotional triggers and fat-driven cravings. This reinforces the notion that fat can be as psychologically powerful as sugar in influencing eating behavior. 5. Hyperpalatable foods. The perfect storm. A 2024 review in the journal Cell Metabolism coined the term hyperpalatable foods, for products containing high levels of sugar, salt, and fat in specific combinations. These foods, such as potato chips, pizza, and ice cream, are engineered to maximize sensory pleasure and override the body's natural fullness cues. The review analyzed data from 15 countries and found that hyperpalatable foods make up over 58% of the average American diet. The authors noted that these foods activate multiple reward systems simultaneously, making them more addictive than foods containing only one of the three ingredients. Food industry insiders have acknowledged using bliss point formulas to create products that people find almost impossible to resist. 6. Childhood exposure and lifelong craving. A major cohort study from Stanford University published in February 2025 tracked the eating habits of 4,000 children over a decade. The research showed that early and frequent exposure to sugary, salty, and fatty foods was linked to a 42% higher likelihood of developing intense cravings and overeating behaviors in adolescence and adulthood. The study emphasized the role of school lunches, family meals, and advertising in shaping lifelong preferences. According to the CDC's 2024 Youth Risk Behavior Survey, nearly 90% of U.S. middle and high school students reported consuming a sugary snack or drink at least once per day. The findings suggest that early dietary patterns have a powerful and lasting impact on brain wiring and future eating habits. 7. Obesity and chronic disease. The real-world impact. The link between cravings for sugar, salt, and fat and rising rates of obesity is clearer than ever. The 2025 World Obesity Atlas reported that more than 1.1 billion adults worldwide are now classified as obese, a number up 12% since 2020. Researchers attribute much of this increase to the proliferation of processed foods engineered to trigger cravings. Chronic overconsumption of these foods is also tied to higher rates of type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular disease. The American Diabetes Association noted in a 2024 report that 37% of new diabetes cases in the U.S. could be linked to excess intake of these three ingredients. These statistics underscore how cravings, driven by biological responses in the brain, translate directly into global health challenges. 8. The food industry's role. Engineering cravings. Recent investigative reports have shed light on how food companies deliberately design products to maximize cravings. In 2024, the New York Times ran a feature on flavor chemists, specialists hired by major brands to fine-tune recipes for optimal taste and texture, ensuring repeat purchases. Internal documents reviewed by the Times revealed that some companies test hundreds of ingredient combinations to find the perfect mix that triggers the strongest brain response. The global market for processed snack foods reached $650 billion in 2024, fueled by aggressive marketing and product innovation. Industry spokespeople argue that they are simply meeting consumer demand, but critics say these practices exploit the brain's vulnerabilities. 9. Personalized nutrition. New frontiers in craving control. In response to the growing public health crisis, new technologies are emerging to help individuals manage cravings. A 2025 study in Nature Digital Medicine highlighted the use of wearable devices that monitor blood glucose and neurochemical changes in real time, sending alerts when the user is likely to experience a craving. Meanwhile, personalized nutrition apps use algorithms based on genetics, gut microbiome data, and lifestyle factors to create customized dietary plans that minimize exposure to high sugar, high salt, and high fat foods. According to a 2024 report by the Global Wellness Institute, the digital health sector saw a 26% increase in users seeking personalized solutions to curb food cravings. 10. The road ahead. Public policy and future direction. Governments worldwide are taking notice of the health crisis driven by cravings for sugar, salt, and fat. In 2024, the European Union implemented stricter labeling requirements for processed foods, mandating front-of-package warnings for items exceeding recommended thresholds. In the U.S., the FDA announced in January 2025 that it will review guidelines for added sugars and sodium in school meals, following advocacy from health organizations. Early results from these interventions are promising. Chile, for example, saw a 24% reduction in sugary drink consumption within 2 years of implementing warning labels, as reported by its Ministry of Health in late 2024. Policymakers hope that continued regulation, combined with consumer education and healthier food options, will start to break the cycle of cravings at its source.